Okay, so we're gonna try to get this done here real quick. I filmed this and then it totally had weird audio and it was all weird, so we're gonna get through this. So we're gonna run through the end of the Odyssey part 2, and we're gonna go to the end of the packet today. I'm gonna try to wrap it all up in like 30 minutes or less. So starting out, remember, Odysseus is home. He's in Ithaca again. We're rejoicing, except he's disguised as a beggar, and only his son Telemachus knows he's Odysseus. So his wife Penelope doesn't know. None of the suitors know. No one knows. And so he's back home in his own house, and the suitors are there, and they're super mean to him. And Antinous, why can't I say Antinous? The bully throws a stool at him, and they make fun of him. And then Penelope's like, "Hey man, can we talk, Odysseus?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Have you heard about my husband?" And he goes, "Don't worry, ma'am. Your husband's coming home in like a month." And that's where we leave off. And now we're picking up in the challenge, because remember, Penelope's got to get married. She's stuck. She's got to get married again. So she comes up with this challenge in how to decide which man she's going to marry, because she doesn't want to marry any of them. And so that's where we're starting today.
The challenge. Pressed by the suitors to choose a husband from among them, Penelope says she will marry whoever can string Odysseus's bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe-handle sockets. The suitors try and fail. Still in disguise, Odysseus asks for a turn and gets it. And Odysseus took his time, turning the bow, tapping it, every inch, for borings that termites might have made while the master of the weapon was abroad. The suitors were now watching him, and some jested among themselves. A bow lover, dealer in old bows. Maybe he has one like it at home, or has an itch to make one for himself. See how he handles it, the sly old buzzard. And one disdainful suitor added this: may his fortune grow an inch for every inch he bends it.
Okay, so basically, Penelope's challenge here is you have to string Odysseus' bow and get it through these 12 handle sockets. And so Odysseus asks for a turn. And now before we start, the next piece I want you to go to right now, and you may have to pause this video first and then come back to it, because I will not be holding pauses for the sake of time. I want you to predict right now what's going to happen. What's going to happen with Odysseus? So you're going to write, I predict that, and whatever your prediction is. So predict right now. Like I said, you're going to want to pause this, because I'm going to jump right back into the text here. I'm not going to waste any time on my end, because otherwise you'll just be sitting here listening to me silently do nothing. Okay, so next, we're going to look for an epic simile in lines 1372 to 1375. That's what's coming up next. So look for the simile. Remember, comparison using the words like or as. Okay, and we're looking for Odysseus' stringing of the bow. What's it compared to? So that's what we're going to do right now.
But the man skilled in all ways of contending, satisfied by the great bow's look and heft, like a musician, like a harper, when with quiet hand upon his instrument he draws between his thumb and forefinger a sweet new string upon a peg. So effortlessly Odysseus in one motion strung the bow, then slid his right hand down the cord and plucked it. So the taut gut vibrating hummed and sang a swallow's note.
Okay, so the simile is right in here. But the man skilled in all ways of contending, satisfied by the great bow's look and heft, like a musician, like a harper, when the quiet hand upon his instrument he draws between his thumb and forefinger a sweet new string upon a peg. So the question is, what is the bow being compared to? What are they comparing the bow to? There is something in here. Look for the word like or as, and find what it's being compared to. And then here, answer, Odysseus' bow is compared to, and tell me what it is. So what's it being compared to? Again, you'll need to pause this because I'm going to move right along again.
In the hushed hall, it smote the suitors, and all their faces changed. Then Zeus thundered overhead, one loud crack for a sign. And Odysseus laughed within him, that the son of crooked-minded Cronus had flung that omen down. He picked one ready arrow from his table where it lay bare. The rest were waiting still in the quiver for the young men's turn to come. He nocked it, let it rest across the hand grip, and drew the string and grooved butt of the arrow, aiming from where he sat upon the stool. Now flashed arrow from twanging bow clean as a whistle through every socket ring, and grazed not one to thud with heavy brazen head beyond. Then, quietly, Odysseus said, "Telemachus, the stranger you welcomed in your hall has not disgraced you. I did not miss, neither did I take all day stringing the bow. My hand and eye are sound, not so contemptible as the young men say. The hour has come to cook their lordship's mutton, supper by daylight. Other amusements later, with song and harping that adorn a feast." He dropped his eyes and nodded. And the Prince Telemachus, true son of King Odysseus, belted his sword on, clapped hand to his spear, and with a clink and glitter of keen bronze stood by his chair in the forefront near his father. Odysseus's revenge.
All right, so let's talk about what just happened. Basically what happens, Odysseus strings the bow, shoots it through all 12 of it. He succeeds. He then goes and says, "Telemachus, you and I, let's fight these 100 suitors." And so that's what he's going to do. And so the next question is, it ends with this epic moment of father and son standing side by side, and they're going to face and kill 100 suitors. Why is that epic? Why is Telemachus and his father, Odysseus, standing, going ready to slaughter the 100 suitors that are going for Penelope's hand? Why is that epic? So you'll write, this scene is considered epic because, and then tell me why. Again, you're going to want to pause this right now, and then I'm actually going to move to the revenge section. Odysseus' revenge. Well, y'all, you're just going to get me summarizing this for you really quickly. So, long story short, Telemachus and Odysseus fight, and they fight, and they fight. Oh, Antinous is dead now. Antinous is the first guy who gets killed because Odysseus is like, "You were mean to me, you die." Oh, yay, everyone's dead. Odysseus' revenge, done. He's done. He's like, "I'm Odysseus." And Penelope's like, "I don't believe you." And that's where Penelope's test starts. Penelope, his wife, is like, "I don't think you're actually Odysseus. I don't believe you're Odysseus." And so this is where we're going to start now. All the suitors are dead. It's just Odysseus and Penelope left.
Now, shrugging off his rags, the wiliest fighter of the islands leapt and stood on the broad door-sill, his own bow in his hand. He poured out at his feet a rain of arrows from the quiver and spoke to the crowd. "So much for that. Your clean-cut game is over. Now watch me hit a target that no man has hit before, if I can make this shot. Help me, Apollo." He drew to his fist the cruel head of an arrow for Antinous, just as the young man leaned to lift his beautiful drinking cup, embossed, two-handled, golden. The cup was in his fingers. The wine was even at his lips. And did he dream of death? How could he? In that revelry amid his throng of friends, who would imagine a single foe, though a strong foe indeed, could dare to bring death's pain on him and darkness on his eyes? Odysseus's arrow hit him under the chin and punched up to the feathers through his throat. Backward and down he went, letting the wine cup fall from his shocked hand. Like pipes, his nostrils jetted crimson runnels, a river of mortal red. And one last kick upset his table, knocking the bread and meat to soak in dusty blood. Now, as they craned to see their champion where he lay, the suitors jostled in uproar down the hall, everyone on it.
And it was just now that I realized that I didn't move it all the way to the Penelope section. So, sorry about that. That was my accident. I was like, why is this not adding up? That's why.
Shaped that stump from the roots up into a bedpost, heaped on one another. Penelope's test.
There we go.
Penelope tests Odysseus to prove that he really is her husband. Great-hearted Odysseus, home at last, was being bathed now by Eurynome and rubbed with golden oil, and clothed again in a fresh tunic and a cloak. Athena lent him beauty, head to foot. She made him taller, and massive too, with crisping hair in curls like petals of wild hyacinth, but all red golden. Think of gold infused on silver by a craftsman, whose fine art Hephaestus taught him, or Athena, one whose work moves to delight. Just so she lavished beauty over Odysseus's head and shoulders. He sat then in the same chair by the pillar facing his silent wife, and said, "Strange woman, the immortals of Olympus made you hard, harder than any. Who else in the world would keep aloof as you do from her husband if he returned to her from years of trouble cast on his own land in the 20th year? Nurse, make up a bed for me to sleep on. Her heart is iron in her breast." Penelope spoke to Odysseus now. She said, "Strange man, if man you are, this is no pride on my part, nor scorn for you, not even wonder merely. I know so well how he appeared boarding the ship for Troy. But all the same, make up his bed for him, Euryclea. Place it outside the bedchamber my lord built with his own hands. Pile the big bed with fleeces, rugs, and sheets of purest linen." With this, she tried him to the breaking point, and he turned on her in a flash, raging. "Woman, by heaven, you've stung me now. Who dared to move my bed? No builder had the skill for that, unless a god came down to turn the trick. No mortal in his best days could budge it with a crowbar. There is our pact and pledge, our secret sign built into that bed. My handiwork and no one else's. An old trunk of olive grew like a pillar on the building plot, and I laid out our bedroom round that tree, lined up the stone walls, built the walls and roof, gave it a doorway and smooth-fitting doors. Then I lopped off the silvery leaves and branches, hewed and shaped that stump from the roots up into a bedpost, drilled it, let it serve as model for the rest. I planed them all, inlaid them all with silver, gold, and ivory, and stretched a bed between, a pliant web of oxhide thongs dyed crimson. There's our sign. I know no more. Could someone else's hand have sawn that trunk and dragged the frame away?" Their secret. As she heard it told, her knees grew tremulous and weak. Her heart failed her. With eyes brimming tears, she ran to him, throwing her arms around his neck, and kissed him, murmuring, "Do not rage at me, Odysseus. No one ever matched your caution. Think what difficulty the gods gave. They denied us life together in our prime and flowering years, kept us from crossing into age together. Forgive me. Don't be angry. I could not welcome you with love on sight. I armed myself long ago against the frauds of men, impostors who might come, and all those many whose underhanded ways bring evil on. But here and now, what sign could be so clear as this of our own bed? No other man has ever laid eyes on it. Only my own slave, Actorus, that my father sent with me as a gift. She kept our door. You make my stiff heart know that I am yours." Now from his breast into his eyes the ache of longing mounted, and he wept at last. His dear wife, clear and faithful, in his arms, longed for as the sun-warmed earth is longed for by a swimmer, spent in rough water where his ship went down under Poseidon's blows, gale winds, and tons of sea. Few men can keep alive through a big surf to crawl, clotted with brine, on kindly beaches in joy, knowing the abyss behind. And so she too rejoiced, her gaze upon her husband, her white arms round him pressed, as though forever. The ending. Odysseus is reunited with his father. Athena commands that peace prevail between Odysseus and the relatives of the slain suitors. Odysseus has regained his family and his kingdom.
Okay, so basically I'm going to give you a quick rundown nutshell of it. Long story short, Penelope's like, I don't actually believe you're Odysseus. And then Odysseus is like, why are you so mean to me? Why are you so cold? And he's like, hey, nurse, make a bed for me so I can go to sleep. And then Penelope's like, yeah, move his bed outside my bedchamber. And then he gets mad. He's like, wait, what do you mean my bed? Move my bed, ma'am? My bed, did you have someone cut it down? Because basically he built his entire bed around a tree that was in their room. And so the bedpost is a living tree that was cut. So it's on the wall. So he's like, did you cut down the tree? Like, are you kidding me? And that's how she knows it's actually him, because the only people who know there's a tree in their bedroom is Penelope, Odysseus, and then her slave. And that's it. And so she realizes it's truly Odysseus, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed you. And they live happily ever after. So jumping down to Penelope's test. I forgot, this is already here. So I guess I'm just going to leave this part here. The characters in this: Penelope, Odysseus, and that's the nurse. The setting, where are they? Well, they're in their home, some kind of like sitting room, living room kind of thing. Their conflict issue, there are two. Penelope doesn't know if this is truly Odysseus. She's not sure. Is it actually him? Is it not? And Odysseus is upset that Penelope's being so cold, like not acting like his wife. And their resolution. Well, Penelope finds out that it really truly is Odysseus. And then they end up together. And it's all good. And so that's the little plot piece there. The next part. How is the conflict different from Odysseus's other struggles in the homecoming section? So how is this one different than all the rest of the conflicts since when he gets back to Ithaca? Think about these things. Does anyone die in this one? Is it a physical fight? Is it peaceful? Does it end in a good way instead of in death? How is this different? Okay. Next, explain the secret of Odysseus and Penelope's bed. I already told you that is, so write what it is. Skip the next one. Next. And again, remember, you can always pause at any time. I'm just rushing through these because I'm not the one writing them. Identify and explain the epic simile. The epic simile in the final paragraph is this. There is a simile, again, simile, like or as. I'm going to tell you part of it. Now from his breast and into his eyes the ache of longing mounted, and he wept at last his dear wife, clear and faithful in his arms, longed for as the sun-warmed earth is longed for by a swimmer. One part of this is the sun-warmed earth is longed for by a swimmer is compared to something. So you tell me, what is being compared to sun-warmed earth? And what they mean by that is a swimmer, someone getting out of the water that's been cold, wants to be on that warm earth, right? To get warmed up. They want to get back on land where it's warm instead of a cold ocean or pool or lake. So what's being compared to that? Next is your opinion. How do you think the ending would have been different if Penelope had not been so cautious? How would it be different if she was like, oh my gosh, Odysseus, it's you. I can't believe it's you. And she hadn't tried to test him and she hadn't wondered. How would that have been different? Would it have been effective? What do you think would have happened? Next, the Odyssey has themes reflecting timeless and universal concerns, such as courage and honor, good and evil, life and death, and the importance of home. Choose one, not all four, just one. What message about this topic does Homer convey? Give evidence from the text, so one quote to support your answer. So which one of these themes? And so themes like courage and honor. Think about Odysseus. Was he courageous? Were other people courageous or honorable? Good and evil. Is someone only good or someone only evil? Is Odysseus good? Is he evil? Is Scylla evil? Or is Scylla just doing what Scylla knows to do? Life and death. There's a lot of life, and there's not a lot of life. Starts out a lot of life, but there's a lot of death. Think about it. Odysseus is the only person to make it home, and then they kill 100 suitors. What do we learn about life and death, or the importance of home? Odysseus, the entire Odyssey is Odysseus' journey home to Ithaca. What do we learn about the importance of home, about the importance of getting back to a person, to a place, to something? What do we learn about that? So pick one of those and write about that. 50 words. 50 words, y'all, not 2, 50. And then the last one, rate the Odyssey 1 through 5, 1 being least adventurous, 5 being the most exciting. And then explain your rating. So you rate it 1 through 5. 1 is, it was so boring. 5 was like, it was so exciting and adventurous. Rate it, explain. Why'd you rate it that way? That's it. When you're done with it, you'll turn it in. This needs to be turned in before Monday. Why? Because on Monday, we're going to write. Monday, Thursday, we're writing our essays, and then our essays are going to be due Sunday night. So we're going to wrap up our writing next week and get it all done and completed. So make sure your packet's done and turned in by Monday. If you need me this weekend, please send me a remind text. The fastest way to get a hold of me on the weekends is remind, not my email. I do not check my email often, but I do check my phone. If you send me a remind text, I can get back to you within a few hours. Might take me a couple hours, but it is faster than me just checking my email. So with that, have a wonderful weekend, guys. I'll see you on Monday.